guys, Maple Notchman here, and today I'm going to give you a dozen tips on how to make your super cruise and jumping faster. Alright, let's take a look at the galaxy map. So in the galaxy map, one of the first things I want to show you is the bookmarks. So you can bookmark something by coming over here and selecting the bookmark flag, and you can bookmark anything from systems to stations, planets, things like that. You can find this bookmark map on both the galaxy map and the system map. And then if you come over to, on the plotter, the bookmark tab, this is where all your bookmarks will be listed. And if you join a squad like the EDF, you may also have some squad bookmarks that'll be listed. And to plot a course to one of those, all you do is come over here and hit plot route, and there you go. You'll have the route to that spot. And another tip, when you plot that route, you notice how this line is solid orange? So that means I have enough fuel to jump there. If you don't have enough fuel, like let's say we're jumping all the way out to the Guardian Module blueprint site. Okay, this is 1,000 light years out. Notice how this line goes dotted? So that means I don't have enough fuel to get there. So you're going to have to scoop. Well, you can only scoop certain types of stars. So a good way to deal with that is to come over here to your map and then come down and select star class. And then KGBFOAM is kind of the acronym for your scoopable stars. So you can select all those stars down to M. Most M's are scoopable, not all. And then apply the filter to the route, and now it'll change your route so that you're only jumping through scoopable stars, which is super useful. Another useful way to use that is if you're out exploring and you're specifically looking for like Earth-likes and water worlds and things like that, I'll usually change it to just FGK, Four Great Kings. And these are the stars that are most likely to have Earth-like, ammonia, and water worlds that are, high value, that are out there to find. So, so that's kind of how you use your filter. The last thing I want to show you in here is, plotting economical versus fastest route. So let's pick a shorter course here. So right now we're on fastest route. Okay, we can see that right here. And, it's just going to take us a couple jumps to get to this spot. If you put it on economical, what that does is it plots a course to get there in the least amount of fuel. Okay? So, yeah, I went from 2 jumps to 10 jumps, but it's actually going to use less fuel than if I made the 2 jumps. And the reason that it does that is because the farther you jump is not a linear function of fuel. Okay? It's actually logarithmic. So, when you jump a really long distance, you use a lot more fuel. Not just a little bit more, a lot more. So sometimes economical, especially if you're low on fuel, there's not any scoopable stars around, or maybe you have a really crappy jump range in your ship because you haven't engineered it yet or upgraded your FSD. Economical can actually be pretty useful. But one of the things we run into with the game is a lot of beginning players, it takes them forever to get anywhere because by default, FDev puts you on economical plotting. Okay, so you have a hauler, even though you've upgraded the FSD to an A, it still takes you a million jumps to get anywhere. Make sure you change it to fastest route, and that'll get you, as stupid as it sounds, that'll get you there the fastest. Okay, so the next thing that I want to show you is how to quickly scoop stars between jumps. So if you're in a hurry to get somewhere, usually it's best that you scoop a little bit per jump. Then you don't have to stop and fill up completely. And there's kind of a quick way to do that. So my first tip is typically you scoop the best with your roof. Okay? So the roof of your ship is what you want facing the star as you go by. And so when we jump into this scoopable star, you see the exclusion zone here in green. We're going to just cut right by the exclusion zone with our roof. And you can see we're filling. Now this little Diamondback Explorer has a tiny little fuel scoop on it, and I'm just going to hug the star until I got all the fuel that I want, or maybe my heat starts to heat up. We're at 80%, 90%. Okay, so I'm going to break off and start flying towards my target and hit the next jump. You can see that our heat's going down, we're cooling, so I can go ahead and initiate the next jump, and off we go. Okay, another tip to make your life quicker is when you're making multiple jumps but you don't need to scoop fuel, contouring the star is actually not the fastest way to get from system to system. What I prefer to do is when I jump in, depending what side of the star I'm on, I will take like a 90-degree turn to get up and around it, and then right when my FSD recharges, then I should be able to fire it up again without overheating. This is super useful, like if you're in a Type 9 doing quick cargo runs, and you have to make a couple, jumps to get from one place to another. So here I was in the top part of the star, so I'm just going to point 90 degrees up, and I'm going to watch my FSD cool down, and then, okay, it dropped, and I'm just going to make the next jump. And then while my FSD is charging, I'm just going to point at the next planet, and there we go. We're off to the next planet. Super quick. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is show you guys how the supercruise assist module works. Typically, I don't take one on any of my ships because I think it's a waste of an optional internal slot. However, there are a few cases where I think one is useful, such as deep space exploration. So one of the first features that you might find useful as a new player is the Hyperspace D Throttle. So if you come over to your right panel and then go to Ship and then Flight Assistance, over here on the right hand side it'll say Hyperspace D Throttle. You can turn that on, and again you do have to have the supercruise assist module equipped. And so when we jump into this next system, it's basically going to automatically stop us. So that's really useful if you're having problems avoiding the star when you first jump in, or maybe you're out exploring and you want to get a drink of water. But again, this isn't really a module that I use too much in the bubble. It was added significantly a long time after I started playing, so yeah. So this is probably when I buy a new ship, I usually remove this immediately. Okay, so see how we stopped? Now, in supercruise, keep this in mind, you don't actually fully stop. The minimum speed in supercruise is 30 kilometers per second. So if you went AFK and went to the grocery store, you might come back and you dropped into the exclusion zone of the star. Also, this is populated space where I'm at now, so going AFK in supercruise is probably not a good idea. So yeah, so that's kind of the Hyperspace D Throttle. The next function that the supercruise assist module does is helping you to drop into targets in supercruise. So if you go to your left nav panel and you find the target that you're looking for, which in this case is my friend Niles's fleet carrier, and then you select it, and you can actually come over to Supercruise Assist and select that, and now it'll say align target with destination. So if we point at it, alright, now it is aligning us, and it adjusted our throttle to about 3/4 throttle, which is kind of the optimal magical throttle, and it's going to take us there and drop us in automatically in just a minute. You can also, over here in the settings, you can set it to manual throttle, and then you have to adjust the throttle yourself, but it will maintain control of your steering and guide you in. Okay. The disadvantage of this, though, is if you're going a really long distance, it put us at 3/4 throttle from the get-go, and that's going to be really, really, really slow. So what I prefer to do is the 7-second rule. So let's deactivate the supercruise assist. And then, you know, what a lot of people do is you go up into your key bindings and then go to options, controls, and I think it's under flight throttle. And you come in here and look for set speed to 75%. I don't use it because I'm using a throttle on my gamepad. But basically, if you set a keybind to this, then anytime you're approaching a target in supercruise, you can use what's called the rule of 7. So the rule of 7 seconds is that at 7 seconds, if you drop down to 75% throttle, then you're not going to overshoot, okay? And let me kind of get away from this carrier, and I will show you how that works. Also, the optimal throttle 75%. See how we just moved our blue bar? That's about 75% throttle. That also is optimal for maneuvering in supercruise. So if you're trying to turn around, then I highly recommend dropping to 75%. And, okay, so we're actually going to overshoot here. I need to give us a little bit more distance. So give me a second. Going a little bit too fast. Well, we're too close, so we didn't complete our turn. So basically, think of supercruise as you're accelerating towards the target, and then you're de-accelerating towards the target. And you have to match that deceleration rate to your velocity. So how you're decreasing in velocity has to match your distance, or else you're going to overshoot the target. I know that sounds really, really weird, but... So we swing around here. Okay, so currently we're 20-something seconds. I'm going to go full throttle. And then as soon as we get to 7 seconds, 15, 14, 12, 10, 9, 8, 7, boom, I'm going to go 3/4 throttle. Now, as long as there's not any gravitational bodies or anything, I can ride this all the way in, okay? And the last thing to get really fast at this I'm going to do is I'm going to watch my speed. Now, to drop into the target, depending on the type of target, you have to be either under 1 million meters per second or 4 million meters per second, as it'll show over here. So if we get under 1 million meters per second, then I'm going to increase to full throttle. So let me show you that. So we're on approach, we're at 7 seconds. This is way faster than the supercruise assist module. But now we're dropping 3 million meters per second, 2, 1. Okay, and it'll let me drop. At this point, I could actually go full throttle. And boom, we have my buddy's carrier. So that's kind of the 7-second rule. Another thing to keep in mind is dodging bodies. So let me show you that. Okay, the next tip I'm going to show you is the quickest way to leave a planet. So, you know, the planet has a whole lot of gravity and it can really slow you down, especially when you get into supercruise. And sometimes you're trying to jump to another system, however, it is obscured. So our system is obscured, we're not able to jump to it. So what I'm going to do, check my mass lock, I'm not locked anymore. I'm going to charge my supercruise, and now it gave me an escape vector. And basically this escape vector is a 90-degree perpendicular course from the planet. And so I'm going to full throttle, we're going to jump into that. And then I'm going to hold full throttle for supercruise, and I'm going to hold this 90-degree vector, okay? And see how this is all red down on your sonar? And the planet's red. That means the gravity is affecting you negatively. And so you can watch how we're accelerating. We just made 2.5 kilometers per second. and we're slowly leaving the planet, okay? Now, at this point, you can start spamming high wake to see if you've cleared the planet enough. Okay, so we just are clearing the atmosphere of the planet, but the planet's still red, so the gravity's still affecting us. We might be high enough to jump now. We just left orbital cruise. Now we're in full super cruise. We're accelerating, and the planet's no longer red, okay? So that's kind of the fastest way. Notice how we jumped up in speed when that happened. If you're not perpendicular to the planet holding that 90-degree course, that's going to take forever, okay? So stay on that escape vector, stay perpendicular to the planet until you clear it enough, and you can jump to your next system just like this. Alright, so last but not least, I'm going to show you guys how to do a neutron or white dwarf jet cone boost jump. So the idea behind this is that you use your fuel scoop to scoop the neutrons or whatever coming off the tail of these stars to supercharge your FSD. If you scoop a white dwarf, then you get a 1.5 bonus or 150% increase. If you scoop a neutron star, then I believe it's 400% or 4 times your jump range. So currently on our little Diamondback Explorer here, our jump range on our ship statistics is 70.94 light years. So we're going to come in, we're going to scoop this white dwarf. I've never done it in a Diamondback Explorer, so hopefully we don't die. And then we'll see how much that boosts our jump range. So something to keep in mind is that white dwarfs are very dangerous. They have a very large exclusion zone, and if you get stuck in that tail in the exclusion zone, you're probably not going to get out. Also, the way that I like to approach these, I like to approach them at an angle, so that basically if it flings me a weird direction, then it's most likely not going to fling me towards the star. It'll just fling me out of the tail. So let's go ahead and start approaching. Oh, there's the exclusion zone. You can see it pop up there, so we definitely want to avoid that. And we're just going very slowly for the end of the tail. Now, I wish the exclusion zone would stay on the screen. It'd make it, easier to know how close we are. That's why these white dwarfs are so dangerous. And I'm already starting to overheat. This does do damage to your FSD as well. So if you're doing this, oh, here we go, we're charging. There we go, frame shift drive supercharged. I'm going to full throttle and get out of this thing before we get killed. And like I said, if you're in that tail and you hit the exclusion zone, you're going to have a big problem. You're going to die a horrible, slow death. I've seen people with, hundreds of millions of exploration data die and lose it all. So, it's not for the faint of heart. Let's see how much that jumped our jump range. Now we're at 106.42 light years. Okay, so to use that, go to your galaxy map, go to your plotting, and then you're going to hit Use Jet Cone Boost. And so basically, that will allow it. It'll also plot. It'll allow you to, take advantage of that longer range in your plotting. There are things that you can synthesize. That's what this FSD boost is with the different grades. So you can use that as well. But, yeah, use your jet cone boost. Now we got 100 light years, so if I'm going to go, let's say I'm going to go somewhere way out there like the Guardian module blueprints, then that first jump should be, yeah, see, it gave us a nice long jump. So there you go. All right, so if you die, don't blame me. Oh, wait a minute. Fastest route, jet cone boost. There we go. Okay, see how it has this blue route? This is your jet cone boost, 100 light year jump right here. If it was a neutron, like when I went to Beagle Point, I took my Anaconda, Jumpaconda. You know, it had 80 something light year jump range. You get that huge boost, then you're up over 300. So, all right, so that's how you neutron or white dwarf jump. Don't get yourself killed, and if you do, don't blame me. Have a good one.